Hello everybody, JGC Anime here, and today we are going to be reviewing Season 2 of ReZero. Now that I think about it, I haven't filmed a ReZero review in a long time. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop right into this. So, a basic story summary. If you have seen the last season of ReZero, then I'd recommend listening to the story summary. However, if you haven't yet, I wouldn't recommend sticking around for the review, as this will contain spoilers for Season 1. Now with that out of the way, I'm just going to move into explaining the story summary. So after Season 1, where everything's said and done, the whale's been defeated, and also Subaru's just living the happy life with everybody, he then comes back to now that Subaru and Emilia have finished everything with all of Season 1, which trying to describe it all in one sentence is really hard, so I'm just going to say they saved the day. They come back to the mansion of Roswaal, only to find people either severely injured or unconscious. And that's when Subaru learns that apparently somebody has eaten all of Rem's memories. As you know, Rem from Season 1, everyone loves Rem. Personally, I'm an Emilia fan, but Rem's pretty cool too. And in that, Rem is now stuck unconscious, and nobody but Subaru can remember who she is, because Subaru has that strange ability of his to be the main protagonist. And after that, you can imagine what Subaru would do. He's like, I gotta die in order to save her. Oh, wait, darn it, that doesn't work anymore because of my checkpoints. And after that, he now continues the story onward, and since then goes to like a graveyard where he'll be meeting with Rom, or I think at least that's how I'm pronouncing her name, and Roswaal as the plot thickens for Season 2. So, some things I liked and disliked. Well, I honestly thought the plot of the season was really good. Was it as good as Season 1's? I wouldn't say that, but it was still pretty good. Like, it was really good. And I had a pretty good time, especially with some of the new characters. Like, the characters, like, all the witches. All the witches are amazing, because they introduce all the witches in this, which, if you've seen even a picture of ReZero, you'll understand what I mean by it. But they introduce a lot of new characters in here. One of my favorites has probably got to be the Witch of Greed, Echidna, who I can explain her better in the spoiler section, but she's definitely one of my favorite characters. And there's another witch whose name I can't remember, but I think she was probably my favorite of the witches, just because of her personality. But again, I'll also get into that in the spoiler section. The animation was, of course, amazing, and I actually had a fantastic time with a lot of it. But talking about some things I disliked, I really didn't like the overstretch of some things. Like, for one, unlike last season, there's not as much return by death this season to try to like help Subaru grow as a person, which I understand why they did it, and it makes sense, but it just felt like because of the lesser amounts of return by death, it made it feel a little less like ReZero, more of your generic isekai, which I'm fine with a generic isekai. I am perfectly okay with generic isekai. Heck, I watched the show called Master of Ragnarok that everyone claims is the worst isekai ever, and I actually enjoyed it to an extent. I thought it was okay, but I can review that at a later time. But yeah, I thought there were some good and bads, and if we're talking about, we're just gonna get into the spoiler-free thoughts. I thought it was enjoyable. Did I love every single aspect of it? No. But I still had a really good time, and honestly, while I wasn't a huge fan of how much they cut the openings, because now each episode's around 27 minutes, they're still really good episodes, and they really seem to want to cram as much as they can into a single episode. It's insane how much they can shove in there. But I can't really say anything else without spoiling, so here is a timestamp to when I'm gonna stop my spoiler section, because I'm about to enter the spoiler section. And yeah, I'm going to count down for 5. If you're still here after that, I recommend you stick around if you've watched ReZero Season 2. And without further ado, let's hop right into this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So one of the things I definitely really loved about the season was how much the development between Emilia and Subaru, like how much development they received. Because Subaru and Emilia, well, for once, they finally kissed, which I thought was kind of a nice moment. And seeing them grow as characters, and I don't know why, but when Emilia was just like, Puck told me that if people kiss, they have a kid. And sorry, that made me laugh so hard the first time I heard it. Honestly, the fact that also Emilia as a person, as a character, grows as well in the season, which I really like. Because you get to see a lot of her growth, especially when we get to learn more about her past. And we even get to learn about the main enemy. I'm not sure. I think his name is Beetlejuice. in the previous season. He was the main villain of the previous season. We got to see more of his origin story, which I really liked. Like, while I didn't want to know about his past, getting to see it and that it actually connected to Amelia, I was majorly intrigued. And especially with I know a lot of people loved Echidna when she was first announced, and I just thought, what's so good about Echidna? She's the Witch of Greed. And then I watched it, and I had to agree. Echidna's a surprisingly interesting character, and I honestly thought she was a great character on screen, especially with how my favorite moment is between her and Subaru, where Subaru's just like, hey, can I go back now? And she's just like, wait, but I have knowledge. Why do you want to leave? Who wants to leave? A lot of people are searching for me, so why are you one of the people who managed to find me not wanting my knowledge? I'm sorry, I love that moment. And there are times when Echidna is a really annoying character as well, but it's just really, she's a really interesting character. And if we're talking about my favorite witch of the group, because they introduced all the witches in this, I can't remember her name, but it's like this witch of pain or something, where she's like this, she's meant to be like this cruel, heartless person, but she actually really cares about everything, and because of the fact that every single one of her punches turns into hearts. And I wish I could remember her name, but she's probably my favorite witch just because of her personality. Now, you think she'd be the most irrational, but she's surprisingly the most rational. And I'm sorry, the witches were definitely the best part of this season. If there's one thing this season did that made it clear, is that they really wanted me to hate Roswaal. Like, I hated him this season. No redemptions from him. I hated him so much. I hated Roswaal. And you can't really change my opinion on that. He's always been an annoying character to me, but I didn't mind him in the past. I just accepted him. And now I just can generally say I don't like the dude. He's rude, irrational, and it's just like, Subaru, I'm not going to let you save everyone. You have to let some people die or some other people go insane. And it's just, they know exactly how to make us hate the guy, and I hated the guy. Another thing I actually really liked was the development for the character Beatrice, who, honestly, I almost forgot her name there for a second, because there's so many different characters like the letter B in their name that I've watched in anime nowadays that trying to remember every single one. Also, it sounded very similar to Beetlejuice, so I almost accidentally said Beetlejuice right now. But Beatrice has a really interesting story, and honestly, with the fact of her connection with Echidna, it just made it even more interesting, especially when Subaru, rather than just being like, I'm gonna be the one to help you, he's like, wait, decide for yourself if you want me to help you. Don't expect me to answer that for you. And it's just this interesting thing how he tries to teach her a lesson while at the same time still growing as a person. And while I admit I didn't like the fact of how little Subaru went back by Return by Death this season, which I know that's a bad thing to say, because why would you want someone to die continuously? I still just, it felt like there wasn't enough risk yet. Or maybe it's just due to the fact of how much of the season takes place in the one location. Like, there's only like 2 major locations throughout the entire season, and I wish that they gave more locations. But one thing I definitely loved about this season was how much more time and dedication they gave to each of the characters. For one, the character Otto, a complete pushover, annoying guy in the first season. I absolutely love him this season. He's been one of the best. He was one of the best characters in this season. And one thing that the season 2 of ReZero has done so far for me is it's managed to make characters I didn't care about become characters I care about. Like, even characters like a newly introduced character called Garfield. I think that's what his name is. And honestly, there's just so many interesting characters this season. It's hard to pick one that I didn't like. There were just so many good ones. Well, except for Roswaal. I still hate Roswaal. But there was so much good about this season. Did I think it was the best season of ReZero? No, I still think season 1 is better. But I think season 2 is very good too. And honestly, I would recommend it to ReZero fans who are worried if season 2 isn't as good as season 1. So we're at the conclusion of this review. What are my final thoughts? Well, if I had to give my final thoughts, well, I enjoyed it. I actually had a pretty good time. Did I love every single second of it? No, but I had a very good time for the majority of it. And overall, it was definitely a good watch. And if you're a fan of Amelia like me, you'll definitely love this season. If you're a fan of Ram, you might not like this season as much, but I could definitely say I still had a very good time. Now, with all that said and done, I'd probably have to rate this season of ReZero a 7 out of 10. Pretty good continuation, and if there is a season 3 of ReZero, I'm 100% gonna watch it. I had a very good time with this anime, and I definitely really want to see more. Now, without further ado, I'm gonna leave you guys with both the question and a goodbye. Who's Rem? And peace!